I received this question on email. It says, I need to seek some guidance on something. I'm planning for a child, have to do a major job change, and then I have some health related goals. Throughout the day, I keep thinking about all this. I need to know how to overcome desires or not to get obsessed with desires. I'm confused if I should keep desires or not. Now, you see that these things in life, like planning a family, changing job, or working on your health, I don't see these things as desires. This is something which a natural flow of life looks like. So, starting a family is not a desire, it is something which happens as a part of life and living. Because you see, the ego can be very tricky, because not desiring anything can itself become a desire. And who is me? Who are you to keep or not keep any desire? The desirelessness happens if it is destined to happen through the grace of the universe. So, if you think that there are certain desires that you need to fulfill, then do go after them. But remember one thing, that the outcome is not in your control. So, it's not wrong to have desires. There's nothing right or wrong about it, because all desires are eventually coming from the source, from the pure awareness. There are no personal desires, because there is no person here as such. So, desires are thoughts which the ego takes ownership of, claiming that it is my desire. So, desirelessness happens when one realizes that they are not the doer of actions. And if you feel that there is some desire that needs to be fulfilled and you think that you should go after them, then do that by all means. But whether the desire will bear the outcome that you want or not is not in your control. So I think the whole confusion about the subject of desire is that we think that all desires are my desires, personal desires. And telling oneself that it is my desire, therefore it is wrong, that itself can be a trap of the ego. This is something which intellectually we cannot figure out, because if we keep telling ourselves that I don't want to have desires, if we keep repeating that like an affirmation, then eventually what will happen is that we'll end up suppressing our desires. And suppression, as we all know, it leads to something nasty. So I don't recommend suppressing any desires. And what you are mentioning is basically, it's a general flow of life, because we all have families, we all have our work, and health is something which is very important, because without health you cannot even be spiritual. If you have chronic health conditions, spirituality is not going to bring you any peace, because when the body pains or when there is some ailment, it needs attention. So, right now, whatever phase you are in life, whether it is something related to money or is it something related to health, if you are in that situation, then what it means is that the universe wants you to focus on that aspect of life for the time being. So the question of desire or desirelessness is not important as such. If desires come up, let them come up. And whatever desires dissolve, let them dissolve. It will happen on its own. There's another question. It says, I think for a long time I've been going through awakening, and currently it feels like all my unconscious thoughts, actions, beliefs, and ideas are surfacing at once, but in total confusion. Therefore, when I'm around people, it's like they are somehow using their power to suck my energy, and I feel weakened in their presence. I end up doing or saying silly things completely unconscious of what I had said or done. They even harm me somewhat, and later I realize that I let myself and get dominated and how I submitted. This in turns makes me sad, angry, and frustrated. I'm talking to friends, relatives, strangers. It happens quite a lot. I can feel it, but for some reason I'm not aware, or I become weakened and unable to rise out of it. I understand that others reflect our unconscious thoughts, therefore, something dark lurks inside of me. It's like I think I have made progress, then some kind of test comes along, and I just revert to old ways. I can't seem to find the energy. So, you see, what happens here is that the sense of personal identification or ego keeps us trapped in this cycle of confusion. And the confusion is that I should be not reactive. Now, that thought, just see this thought, I should not be reactive. Who is saying this? I should not be this way. I should not get influenced by people. Who is it that is saying all this? It is the ego itself. So it keeps us trapped. Sometimes you feel that you are in absolute bliss and you're making progress, and then one incident happens and we react, and then we put so much blame and guilt on ourselves. We become so tough on ourselves. It's okay, this is life, it is conditioning. Now, with this understanding of the teaching, or this message that I am not the doer, one does tend to the reactions tend to become less. But at the same time, there is no permanent state of perfection where I would say that I will never react. If my condition was like this, if there was a possibility that I never reacted, then there would be no wars in the world, there would be no conflict in this world. In fact, the world would be a better place. So you see, I accept myself completely the way I am. That is the only, radical understanding, the radical acceptance that brings me peace. And peace manifests as spontaneous living. That means that I act and react in the moment without thinking about a future outcome, or without getting attached to a future outcome. So if you're keeping this thought that there will be a stage where I will never react and I will become perfectly calm, that itself may be a trap which we are not able to recognize. So it's okay, one goes through this phase where you are around people, and then their energies affect you. So it happens. But as the message of non-doership goes deep down, it changes the unconscious also. Because Nisargadatta Maharaj said that whatever rises from the darkness, from the shadow within, and comes to the conscious surface, that burns. Now, even if it doesn't come to the conscious surface, even then it can burn. Sometimes it just gets destroyed because there is nothing here to sustain that thought, that line of thinking. So, why should I batter myself that now I'm making progress and now I'm failing? This is just the trap of the ego. You are simply acting and reacting according to your conditioning. And yes, I can understand that it can be a bit painful. It is painful, in fact. But you see, there is, as they say, that one cannot hasten the seasons and one cannot hasten the understanding as well. It will happen precisely when it is meant to happen. So, this state of confusion that you are experiencing is something which is happening as of now. But as the understanding gets deeper, the understanding that one is not the doer of actions. So, when I am not the doer of actions, even the others are not the doer of actions. When this understanding gets deep, then I become peacefully within. Because I know that things are apparently happening, but there is no individual doer of anything. And Ramesh Balsekar said it very clearly in his favorite quote. He would say, events happen, deeds are done, consequences happen, but there is no individual doer thereof. So rather than, beating ourselves for making progress and failing and this and that, one can just be with this fact that, okay, I am like this right now. This has this is the way universe has conditioned me. This is my conditioning right now. If I accept that, that is such freedom, that is such liberation. Otherwise, I'm just playing a tennis match. Today I'm okay, tomorrow I'm not okay. That's a very painful situation to be in. So just observe your actions. And of course, if you're not comfortable around certain people, you can choose to, you can make a choice, you can make a decision to not be with them. You don't have to expose yourself to toxicity or toxic people to test your patience, because that is also the ego. The one that wants to test your patience, that I should be okay with everybody. It's not going to happen. We can't be okay with everyone. So even like personally, I'm a bit of an introverted personality, and I'm bit sensitive to people's energy myself. So when I see that somebody's energy is impacting me, I simply accept that it is happening, and the mind naturally goes within that what is happening inside. That is where the attention goes rather than on the outside. So if I say that the other person is creating a trouble for me, then it is my ego which is again creating that separation and hence creating suffering. So my mind goes inwards at that time, and I'm with that feeling for some time. Of course, I don't have to be with that person. I can excuse myself and, retain my peace of mind. So I hope that answers your question.